So we're gonna move on to salt. And really quick before we do, I had taken a break just then, so this is dried even more, and we're gonna do a little scratching and see what happens. Let's do maybe like a little tree. Nothing, not really. Let's see. Nope. Boo. Okay. Well, that looks great. We love that. Well, I love that. And look. The scratching before, like, didn't even leave anything. So, you're stupid, dry. So, we're just going to say scratching wet. Yay, fix that. Okay. So, moving on to salt. So, I have some salt. This is just regular table salt. You can use regular table salt. You can use rock salt. You can use margarita salt, which I've heard is really good because it's kind of like, it's bigger pieces, but it's really thin. So, but this is just regular table salt. So the thing about salt is, you know, if you've ever eaten something like super salty and then you're so thirsty the rest of the day, because salt soaks up water, okay? So what happens is we'll paint a wash. You can do wet on wet, or you can just do a flat dry brush wash. But either way, you let it dry just a little bit and then you sprinkle some of this salt on top of it, and it starts to do these really cool designs. They kind of look like stars or things like that. So they're really neat. So we are going to prep our area for salt. And again, I think I want to use, what do I want to do? I think I want to do this blue. Okay, so I'm just going to start to lay down some of this. So the key to the salt is when to apply it. So you don't want to apply it when there's like a ton of soupy water. So if I were, so this side I just did dry brush, right? So I just attached it. I just painted it like that. Let's do on this other side water first. Well, it's tinted, but water first. And then come in with my color. So over here on this side, it is more of a soupy area, okay? So there's more liquid on this side just because of the nature of how I painted it, okay? So you see how this is liquidier here and this is drier, okay? Well, now it's kind of wet, but still, you can see, I know on the camera, because I'm seeing it right now, do you see how this side's drier and this side is more liquidy? So you want to wait until it is drier. So it's not all the way dry. You're seeing some shine, but it's not as shiny as this side, okay? And then you're going to take some salt, and you're just going to pinch some, okay, just like this, and you're just going to sprinkle it on. Okay? Now it's not going to start doing its thing already, so you got to let it sit just a little bit, and then you'll start to see these little crystals popping out, okay? We're going to wait just a tiny bit more for this guy, and then let him get a little less shiny, and then we'll add some salt to him, okay? So I'm going to set my salt aside, and then I'm going to go on to Water Bloom and Splatter, okay? So, I'm thinking he's already a little dry enough, so I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle him with salt, because he doesn't look soupy. Okay. So now we'll just let it sit and work its magic. Okay. So, moving on, water blooms, splatter. So, with the water blooms, you can paint with water first, which is what I'm going to do. You could also do this with dry brush first. Either way is fine. And then I'm going to come in with one of these darker greens. Got that there. Now, nice and pigmented. I'm going to let him dry just a little bit. And then over there on the side, I'm going to do some splattering, okay? I don't know why I put those two together. I just did. It's weird. I just realized that, but I don't know. So with splatter, an easy way to do this, one, if you've had me before, you've heard me say it like this, you're not Harry Potter, okay? Nor do you belong to Hogwarts of any sort. So you shouldn't be like flicking your brush like this, because you're gonna get it over somebody else's stuff and just it's gonna start going crazy, and we don't want that. This is a controlled splatter. So you can also use a toothbrush. If you guys have seen, you remember like in the old building when we had all of the brushes out at all times and there were those toothbrushes in there. Those were never used on anyone's teeth. They were always used for painting. But you can fill a toothbrush and then just take your thumb along the bristles and go like this, and you can flick a lot of splatter, specks of paint. I'll get a toothbrush in just a minute and show you with that, but I'm going to show you with the brush. So there's two different ways you can do it. You can load your brush and tap it like this, or you can load your brush and then take another brush or pencil and tap like this on top. So I'm going to get some red and I'm going to show you. So my brush is loaded, and then I'm just going to tap. Okay? So there's some splattering there. So you can tell even if you're trying to do this controlled, you can still make a mess. So I'm going to put this rag underneath there, and then still my brush is loaded. Just tapping the back. So there's some splattering. Let me go grab a toothbrush and I'll show you with that. With the toothbrush you can get a finer splatter. So hang on one second. Be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Here's the gnarly looking toothbrush. I'm going to make like a little red violet-y purple here, which you can't see, but that's okay. There it is. So all you're gonna do is you're just gonna smush that toothbrush around in that color, and then you're literally going to rake your finger across. So this is when you want a really nice fine splatter. Cool, right? Okay, now, ooh, can you see our salt? It's doing some fun things. Okay, so let me rinse that toothbrush. Making a mess. Okay, so now this is dried enough. I'm gonna do some blooming. So all that is when you drop in water on top of something that you've already painted. So this is still wet, as you guys can see, because you can still see the glare. But you can also do this on dry. So we'll come back when it's dry and bloom a little bit more. But I'm just gonna take water. And all I did was just splatter that on top, and you're going to see that that water is going to start to dilute that paint where it is been painted before, and it will start to kind of push it away a little bit. There we go. And the bloom takes a little while, so we're going to leave that just like that, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so down to sponge. I'm going to tilt this. So here we are over here at sponge. I have 3 different sponges to show you guys. So, so this is just like a cleaning sponge, and then these 2 are natural sponges. I have a little bit of both. I have a lot of these. I have less of these 2. But this is just a technique where you can get a lot of really cool texture. So I'm going to just mix some different colors over here off on my palette. So I have some options. Okay. So usually you would start out with your sponge being dry. So this is totally dry. And all you do is you just dunk your sponge in like that, and then you're just pressing. So the more liquid you have on your sponge, the more surface area that gets covered. Woo! These are like jumping out of my hands. So this is a natural sponge. And sometimes just the more you like turn these, how you tear them, you kind of get a different texture. Okay. And then this is another natural sponge. So I'm going to do some yellow and green over here. So it's kind of like that project we did with the acrylic where we took different things and just kind of stamped them. But this is just a cool kind of method to use. So that's sponge. Okay. My bloom is not doing what I want it to. So we'll come back to that one. Let him dry a little more. Actually, I'm going to add another coat to get him flat again. And we'll come back and bloom once he's fully dry. Okay. Now, oh my gosh, the salt is looking so kind of cool. Let's see if I can zoom in, because it looks like nothing right now, but let's see. Come on. Cool. You see those little like things? They look like little ices or whatever. It's so much cooler in person, so you guys will have to like take a look at it in real life. So, magic eraser. So I talked before about this is the kind of magic eraser that you like clean with. So to do this, basically you're picking up an area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some masking tape. And this masking tape, we're using it because we have a ton of it, but you can use this with blue paint. You can do this with blue painter's tape too, but we're using the masking tape because we just have so much of it. But because the masking tape is a little more sticky than the blue painter's tape, to get it a little less sticky but still sticky enough, take your clothes. You can do this on your jeans or whatever, but you just kind of stick it on something that you're wearing. Press it down pretty good, and then peel it back up, and then do that again. Stick it down. You can do this on your jeans really easy, and what happens is it takes some of the, like, I don't know, little fibers from your clothes and puts it on the tape, and so it's still sticky, but it's less sticky. So I'm gonna stick this down. I think I'm just going to do a little triangle. So stick that down like that. This is dry. And this is just one of those magic eraser, Mr. Clean magic erasers. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get it dry. You want to make sure you're using the ones without the bleach. I'm not quite sure what the bleach might do to your paper. If you could like paint on it after or not. So I would just say get the original magic erasers, but I'm getting it wet, dunked it, and squeezed it out so it's damp, and then I am just rubbing that. Now you want to have a tissue in hand so you can also blot as you go. So this is a lot like the brush lift out right here, except you can do more of a shape. With your brush lift out, you're not going to get as clean. Look at the comparison. So this is the Mr. Clean one. It literally looks like there was nothing there. And then the brush lift out, which is still kind of hazed, that color, or stained. So yeah, wow, this is actually the first time I've used this method. I've seen it before, but that's like really good to know, especially if you have some junk somewhere that you really want to get out. I'm gonna go back down to this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this was that little stain that we had before. Whoa, it's totally gone. You guys, I'm like mind blown right now. That's awesome. So I learned something today too. Okay, cool. Magic eraser. So then, once you have that, then you can just peel this up. And remember, just like we do the blue painter's tape, totally fold it all the way over and then just peel back slowly. Whoa, I love that. You could then go in there and paint before you lifted it up. That's really cool. That's crazy how clean it gets it. That's awesome. Okay. So the Sandpaper watercolor pencil is super cool. So excited to show you this. So I just have regular sandpaper. This one's pretty thick of a grit. You can use lighter sandpaper too, but this one is really chunky. And then I have watercolor pencils, so 3 different colors. So the first thing that I want to do is get my paper wet. Alright, so this is just water. And I'm coming in here and just painting this. It's tinted a little green, but that's okay. So I'm making sure this is nice and wet. Okay. And then I'm going to take my pencil and my paper, and I'm just gonna kind of almost like I'm drawing. But it's flaking off little bits, and then it's going there and bleeding out. Little bit like the splatter with the toothbrush, but this is way more pigmented. Ooh, that's fun. Let's add some purple, maybe like down here. You know what that looks like to me? It kind of looks like, if you guys ever used the paint program on the computer, you know when you used, I think it was spray can, and just kind of like held that tool in one spot and just kind of just, you know, that's what it kind of looks like. That's really fun. So that is the sandpaper with the watercolor pencils. Sorry. Okay, so what's cool about that is look how detailed. Look how cool that looks. So there's that versus that. So you see how this dried like very washed out, and this does not look washed out at all. Of course, it's not dry yet, but still, that's really awesome. Okay. So, I think I'm going to stop the video and start a new one. Okay? So, till next time.